Welcome back to Students for Political Engagement. And tonight we have a special interview with Green Party candidate Kevin Zheng. Welcome, Kevin. So, just starting on a light note, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? What are your hobbies or interests? What you enjoy doing in your spare time?
Sure. Thanks, Matthew. So thanks, Sean. For so my name is Kevin Zhang. I'm a software engineer working at Amazon. I've graduated from Richmond Hill High School in 2012, and I went to University of Waterloo and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in computer science in 2017. And since then, I've been working at Amazon full time. As a software engineer. Um, in my spare time, I have a bunch of you can say like a weird interests that don't really match up with one another. I'm a big golf fan, and I've been starting to learn how to play golf. I'm a big time gamer. I play a bunch of games of different genres, particularly card games, and for physical exercise, I like doing speed walking as my main form of exercise, and I enjoy looking up and reading news about the weather. So,
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yep. I guess now moving into the policy questions. The cost of living has been rising across the country and especially in Ontario, where the prices of everything from groceries to gas have been rising. The rate of inflation in Canada in the month of April was 6.8%. So what would the Green Party do if it was elected to lower the cost of living and make life more affordable for Canadians and Ontarians in particular?
From our standpoint, it seems like the main reason for the rise in the cost of living becoming unaffordable is because the housing prices are going way up. They're skyrocketing over the past few years. So our plan is to try to tackle. I think we will prioritize on tackling that. So one thing we will do is we're going to build over 160,000 affordable public rental units. So units that are owned by the government and the rent is set by the government. We also that's one way we would increase the amount of supply we have for rental, and we want to make them affordable. And we also want to tackle the issue of why are there not enough available places for people to rent or people to buy homes. One thing we would do is we will make sure that there are a lot of people who own homes, but they don't really live there. Like some people, they might have multiple homes. They live but they might live in a different country, or they just own multiple homes, and they have some people rent, and some homes are only vacant, are not even being occupied. So one of the things we plan to do is we want to charge a tax for people that own multiple homes, so that it will allow disincentivize people from just buying multiple homes and maybe not doing much with them, and then allowing more people to rent or buy their units to be more friendly from first-time buyers. And I think this will be relevant when I know that since you're students, but it's probably relevant in 5 to 10 years when you're going to buy a home. So, and also another thing, there's a bidding process with homes, which so basically what happens what sellers will do is they try to they put up a price. It's like a blind auction in which they have buyers who want to buy the home, and then the seller doesn't tell you the price they want, and then they just try to force the buyers to just try to go with a higher and higher price. It's called blind bidding, which is one reason why the housing prices are artificially increased by a lot. So we want to put a stop to that practice, so that when you buy a home, like the sellers, like the buyers are visible with exactly like what price the seller wants to look for and what prices other buyers are asking. So that's one way we will lower the price. And also we want to rent control is that we want to make sure that the landlords, they can't just keep increasing the rents at a really fast pace for the tenants, so that the rent doesn't just get more and more expensive year after year. So I think I guess to summarize, I think the main thing we want to tackle is the housing price that's going up. But I guess the gas price is also another hot topic with the prices that are going up. But I think I know in the long term we want to eliminate fossil fuels like as part of our net zero goal. But I think in the short run, one thing we plan to do is we want to reduce all public transit by 50%, cost by 50% for the next at least 3 months. So to alleviate like the super high rising gas price, we incentivize people to take more public transit, and then we're gonna take it from there to see like how the situation becomes a few months going forward, and then try to adapt to that. So yeah, I think that'd be.
You mentioned public transit, of course, and Richmond being a suburban area, a lot of people use different forms of transportation to get around. So what is the Green Party stance on public transit and different forms of transportation, and what does the Green Party plan to do in this regard?
So the Green Party will prioritize on making transportation environmentally friendly. I think that's one main priority, and the one key priority. So that there's multiple approaches to that. So one major approach we want to do is we want to slowly try to phase out fossil fuels over the next 10 years or so by incentivizing people to buy electric vehicles, to make sure to buy electric vehicles, and then to slowly stop the production of fossil vehicles use fossil fuels by 2030. But I know that's not doesn't fully solve the problem, because that's still gonna. I know that. So there's also a lot of cars on the road, and we also want to incentivize public transit and non car forms of transit to make sure that to incentivize that kind of transit. And then the way we see it, there's basically 3 forms of transit: long range transit, medium range transit, and short range transit. The long range transit is the GO trains. And then I think the main pushback for taking the GO trains is because the GO trains, they don't come, like the GO train, GO bus, they don't come really the service is not very frequent, comes like sometimes like once every hour, and then a lot of lines don't come on the weekends. So the plan is to make them more frequent by having all the GO train routes come once every 30 minutes, and then even during off-peak times, and then also once every 15 minutes during rush hours. So that's really to incentivize more people to take GO transit. And then the medium range transit is like the transit where you can kind of go like around across the city, like by buses. And one of the pushbacks for taking buses is that people don't like the fact that buses are slow. They stop every station. And they're usually much slower than the regular car traffic. And then to do that, we're planning to increase the number of dedicated bus lanes especially on the major routes. So we're going to triple the number of bus lanes across our regions by 2025. And then the short range transit are the transit like a few blocks away. You don't really want to take the bus, but you may not really want to walk either. And the way we're tackling that is that we're trying to incentivize more people to ride bicycles by having more bike lanes, dedicated bike lanes, and allowing and making the roads safer for cyclists.
So I guess there's 2 aspects to this. So for the longer range transit, such as the GO train, there are a couple issues, I guess, with the Richmond Hill GO train line, which is that the Don Valley makes it harder for trains to run at higher capacities, at faster speeds, and often there's disruptions. So What would the Green Party do to fix that? And also the second thing with, I guess, shorter range transit is that to make dedicated bus lanes and bike lanes, would the Green Party expand the sizes of these roads, or would they maintain the size of the roads and then decrease the other car lanes to help walkability?
So as for the Don Valley the capacity constraint, to be honest, I'm not personally aware of the issue, but I'm sure there are I'm sure there are solutions out there. I think it's a matter of figuring out what the root cause is for the constraint and trying to come up with a solution that way. But I personally haven't looked into that. But I'm sure I think we can probably find the reason and then find a solution for that. And also now the question regarding the short range transit. So I'm not sure what the specific plan is, but I think the idea is we would keep the car lanes the same, like the same, and then we would have dedicated bike lanes on the side. So we would expand this slightly. Like I think based on the fact that that's what the cities usually do when they expand lanes. So.
All right, thank you so much. I think Jacqueline had a question.
Thank you. So in light of the COVID-19 crisis, there are problems within our healthcare system that have been revealed. What would your party do to support and improve the healthcare system?
So my understanding is for the health for our province's healthcare capacity issues, the main root cause is that the nurses are being burnt out. They're being overworked because of the pandemic, and the government, like Ford's government, didn't really do anything to support them. They had I know that before the pandemic, Ford's government introduced Bill 124, which decreases the wage increase for public services, which includes nurses. And then that bill was never looked at throughout the pandemic, which I feel like was a mistake. So what we'll do is we will immediately undo Bill 124 so that nurses so that the wages will go much higher, can allow them to actually, so we can actually pay them based on the actual work, that actual effort amount that they deserve, based on how much hard work they've done over the past 2 years. And one of my coworkers, his I think his cousin was a nurse, and she always complains about the burnout is because of the poor wages. So I do have some, so I'm aware of that. So I think that's one major thing. We gotta pay the nurses better. And also another thing, there might be other reasons as well, maybe contributing to the burnout, or maybe because not enough new nurses are come in. So what the Green Party plans to do is that we'll fund the effort to research, like to have a task force which led by the nurses themselves to do their own research on what is the root cause of the nurse burnout, what's the root cause of the lack of new nurses coming in, and then they would be the ones that propose a solution to improve that, and then we as a government will actually listen to them directly as input. So
Thank you. And just for the viewers at home, can you very briefly explain what Bill 124 is?
So Bill 124. So in a nutshell, Bill 124, the actual official definition is ensure that increases in public sector compensation reflect the fiscal situation of the province. So basically that means the government controls how much is the rate of wage increase for the nurses, and they could have they don't allow the nurses to try to so basically allow like the public sectors, for example, such as nurses, to be able to request for a higher wage increase.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So another important sector in Ontario would be education. So according to a study done by the People for Education, 90% of Ontario principals have said that finding teachers for schools have been a challenge during the pandemic. So what could you or your party offer to combat these issues and other problems Ontario faces in education?
So I'm not aware of this statistic directly, but I'll start by going off a bit of a tangent. So one of the plans for the Green Party is right now there's 4 different school boards. We have the English Public School Board, English Catholic School Board, French Public School Board, French Catholic School Board, and the plan is to merge them into one single school board. And then one reason is because only Catholic teachers are allowed to teach at Catholic schools, and then those schools they'll have hard time looking for teachers because there's a prerequisite that they need to be Catholic, and this kind of limits the options they have as teachers. And then by having one school board, we can have more diverse we can have all the teachers have the same opportunity and they have a more diverse learning environment. But that doesn't directly answer the question of 9% of like the actual root cause, but that'd be one of the root causes. But I'm not aware of what the actual root causes. But
Just a quick follow-up. Can I ask a quick follow-up? Is just so in this new system, would then Catholic school boards be under the public school board system? Would there be separate curriculums within the same school board?
So that's a good question, but I'm personally not aware of the specific details for that. So I think we can go back to the 9%, that the statistics of the 9% of principals having trouble finding teachers. So I'm personally not aware of that, but I don't believe the party has a specific plan to tackle this particular issue. But in my opinion, it's all about finding the root cause. We need the school boards to do research. I think we should encourage the school board to do some research to find like what is the root cause of this not enough teachers? Is it teachers being burned out or not enough new teachers are getting hired? Basically find the root cause and then find the solution and then in my opinion, I think that solution should be a solution that's proposed by the school boards, like by the principals directly, because they're the ones who are having this issue. So
all right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So in the past 2 days, the recent storms in southern Ontario have demonstrated the ferociousness of the environment. So as climate change continues to happen, and like how the climate continues to evolve and not necessarily in a good way, how will the Green Party address climate change and protect Ontario's natural environment?
So this is a topic, and actually, to be honest, I can probably go on and on about it. Like, this is probably my number one passion for joining the Green Party. So we have a net zero goal. We plan to. So the way we tackle is we want to stop climate change. We want to stop climate change in its tracks. I think that's the first and foremost. And it's easier said than done, but we plan to. So our target is to reduce carbon by 50% in 2030 and then go completely net zero by 2045. So, and we want to protect to protect green space, we want to slow down the urban sprawl and slow down the building of highways. Particularly, I know that Ford plans to build Highway 413, which plans to pave over a bunch of wetlands, bunch of environmentally sensitive areas. And I think one of our priorities is to stop that stop building that highway. We don't need the highway. We can invest our money in something better to make our community better. So that's one thing. So to protect the green space. So, and in terms of reducing carbon by 50% in 2030, we plan to stop building gas stations in 2025 and then try to completely phase out fossil fuels in 2030 by having an aggressive plan to incentivize in like electric vehicles and incentive people to buy them and allowing people to charge them better. So the goal is for 50% of electric vehicles to be on the roads in 2030 and 100% electric vehicles to be on the roads by 2040. And then there's also some other, and then also this also ties into some other points that we discussed in the earlier questions, is that we incentivize people from taking public transit and any transit that doesn't involve vehicles, and also making buses electric. We try to make buses electric as fast, as aggressively as possible.
So you mentioned that your party opposes Highway 413 and that we should invest our money elsewhere. What is the Green Party's plan to deal with the increased capacity and the increased growth that we're seeing in the suburbs of Toronto to ensure that people can transfer and that the traffic will not be put onto local roads? So how will your party substitute that demand for transportation?
So our party has a platform which we call a 15-minute community. So 15-minute community is basically means that for any development we do going forward, any basic essential needs we can be able to access either by walking, by biking, or by taking public transit in 15 minutes. So this will reduce the need to do long commutes to do something you need. So, but in general, also on a high level in general, I think this boils down to needing to basically build smarter to make sure that we're not sprawling out of control. Like for example, by making the housing more efficient by having a lot of like mid-rise apartments and stuff, like just more and more like single like detached houses. And so also we also want to set boundaries, like we want to enforce boundaries in urban limits. So we want to assess very strict boundaries and not go past that limit, like if so to not build more. And then in order to do that, I think that this will force the government to trying to be more resourceful in planning, out and doing the planning and then building the houses to make the usage of land more efficient.
So I guess this brings us to our next question, which is regarding more to do with energy with climate change. So Ontario's nuclear power plants are nearing their designated lifespans, with nearly 60% of Ontario's electricity coming from nuclear power plants. Nuclear power is a vital part of Ontario's power grid. So what will your party do to ensure the stability of Ontario's power grid as the power plants come to an end?
So our party will, so on a high level, our party will prioritize on investing in renewable energy, trying to be aggressively spend investing, converting the current energy sources to renewable energy, such as more hydroelectric energy and also wind and solar energy. But as for the nuclear power plants, so we believe that it's not sustainable in the long run to maintain them after they've went past their lifespan. So in the short term, we're probably going to keep them running and do whichever maintenance is whenever possible. While in the meantime, we try to convert some of the energy into more renewable energy, so that we'll be prepared once the power plants have reached out their lifespan. We don't need to invest in extensive resources to either rebuild it or spend some expensive re-maintenance to basically revamp the whole system. So the idea is only to have any minor maintenance as we go along, but no major reworks once as when passes lifetime, because by that time ideally we have to switch most of our energy sources to more renewable sources.
And of course, communities such as Pickering are entirely dependent on the nuclear power plant for the sustainability of their community and for jobs, things like that. So once these power plants do have come to an end, how will you ensure that these jobs remain in the area even if the energy is still met?
So one of the Green Party's platforms is to open up the work sector for more green energy jobs, and then we would also invest in effort to retrain those who are in a workforce that's for no longer energy we no longer use, like for example fossil fuels, or in this case nuclear energy, and we will retrain them so that they can adapt to we can convert them from their current jobs to a green energy job.
All right, thank you. Sean, I think, has some of the
Yeah.
closing comments.
So just on a lighter direction, as politically active students, we'd like to know a bit about how you got interested in politics, perhaps from your experience at RHHS or Waterloo, and how you balance your career in politics, or your engagement in politics, with other aspects of your life, like your software engineering job at Amazon.
So I think to start off, I throughout my school years, I was never really into politics at all, because at that time my primary concern with the world is how we're dealing with climate change. And at that time, I believe that as an individual, I'm just a student. I had no power to change the world. But after I worked in Amazon, I think things changed, because in Amazon, there's a group of employees who, even though Amazon has a reputation of not being the most sustainable, but there's a group of employees within Amazon who are very vocal about it, and very, very vocal and calling out Amazon and being more sustainable. And that motivated me to say that, hey, I can make a difference. I can make a change. And then so the only politics involvement. So in terms of politics, my primary care is to make sure that the parties that are running for the government are doing the responsible things for young people in the future, to make sure that they have a good future. Because I know that this is existential. The scientists are saying this is existential crisis. This should be our number one priority, and it feels like the Green Party is the only part that's making this to be close to the number one priority. So in terms of that's why I think that's why I would always vote for the Greens. And in terms of how it balances out between my politics life and my software engineering life, the actual answer is I'm a full-time software engineer, and I'm not too involved. I can just say I'm not too involved in politics, even as a candidate. I would spend a few hours a week maybe responding to emails and inquiries people may have. And so I think there's a different degree. I think not all politicians are, I guess not all candidates are the same. Like some candidates are super involved, like they have all this campaigning and spend, it's basically their full-time job. But there are also other candidates like me, which are like, it's mostly something I do on the side, but I have full control of what I do as a full-time job as a software engineer, as a software engineer. So,
as a follow-up to that, if you were elected as an MPP in this election, do you think you might have to do some readjustments in your life to, also have time for the responsibilities as a member of provincial parliament?
I think that's for sure. I think if I am elected, I definitely have I think I'll definitely have to do a lot more balancing between my job and my role as a politician. And I think this is probably something I can work out with my company. So I think that, so I'm not too concerned about that, I guess, but that definitely, like, if I do get elected, I'm gonna have to be a lot more involved. But right now, I think the main purpose of me running as a candidate is to gain moral support of people around the region. I know a lot of people in my region are super anxious about climate change and super worried. So I want to just have a voice to show that there's someone in our region who does care about this topic, and to get more overall support for Green Party. Because even if I don't win or get any, I think every vote is an increase in moral support for the Greens and an increase in moral support to help fight climate change.
Yes, and on another note of, if you were elected as an MPP, so if you did win this election and get elected, what would be the first thing you would like to see action on in the Legislative Assembly if you were elected?
So the number one thing the first thing I would see would be, I would definitely push for prioritizing our net zero goals, and that's my personal number one passion of all the things that the Green Party stands for. So I would immediately reduce transportation costs by, like, public transit costs by 50%, because this is something that's easy, it's reversible. We can also pivot based on how it goes. So that's the first thing we'll do. We'll try to reduce the transportation costs. Hopefully that will help the gas prices go down, and then also immediately halt the development of the Highway 413, and then that will give us a lot of money to repurpose that money to invest in renewable energy resources, like renewable energy resources like wind and solar energy, and also electric vehicles, and also electric buses. So those will be my top priorities.
All right, thank you so much. And I think that concludes our entry for today. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you for being involved in the community.
Yep, thank you very much for coming. And
thank you for this opportunity.
have a great evening.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.